Hello, and welcome to Traditional Stitches FlossTube video number 36. I'm the owner of Traditional Stitches, Janice Spencer, and with me today is our Stitch Along leader, Rose Heck. Hi, Rose.
Hi, Janice.
How are you today?
Doing good.
Good.
How about you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Good.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier that we're having a smoky sky day here. I'm not sure where this particular forest fire smoke is coming from, but it's a pretty hazy day today.
Yeah, I had thought it was from BC. However, I think there are still a lot of fires out of control in northern Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not have the rain that we've experienced. So.
Hopefully they get some of it soon. We've certainly had our share, but I'm not complaining. It's been really great to finally see it. So,
yes.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about our Lucy Barber stitch along, the Hannah Campbell stitch along, some things that are going on in the shop. We'll have our in-stock hand-dyed linen parade, and I've got quite a nice stack here beside me. And just talk about what we're stitching on and our plans.
Okay.
All righty. So what have you been up to in this past month, Rose?
A lot. I have been dabbling a lot, being that I've got a stitch along to lead, and I'm following a couple of other stitch alongs, and then I've made my own stitch along, and I think I may have started something else. I don't know. I don't know who I am. I used to be that monogamous stitcher and not anymore. So.
All right. Have you made it down to the Calgary Stampede?
No. I'm a really bad Albertan. I've been there once, years and years and years ago for the grandstand show. And that's it. I tend to stay away from crowds and the heat and asphalt and stuff. And so one year maybe we will, when Rob retires, and we'll maybe go and do the senior day. And yeah, but how about, have you been down there?
No, I haven't either.
No.
If I had tickets to the rodeo or, to the grandstand show, like you said, then it might be a different thing, but not this year.
I would love to see the arts and crafts section, and I'd seen on the news yesterday some really fantastic artists, and I thought, I would love to see those exhibitions, but it isn't going to happen this year. So,
well, we certainly have seen lots of visitors from out of town that are here for the Stampede and have found their way to the shop too. So yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that later too. So you had your sister's weekend since we saw you last, and Instagram tells me you've done a little bit of camping.
A little bit, yeah, not a lot. So yeah, we had some interesting weather for that. It was good, and then it downpoured, and we barely got out of where we were. We situated ourselves in a very hidden spot. I don't think many people know, but we did get out. We did get out. It's a wild ride, but we did get out.
Yeah. Sounds like that would be a very interesting story.
Yes. And did you want to talk about your stitch and stash retreat?
Yes. Yeah, so we took 2 carloads of stuff up to Edmonton for the Stitch and Stash retreat, the very first one that they've ever held. And it was a great success for the shop and rave reviews for the retreat. Good. So it was fantastic. There were 125 stitchers in the banquet room, and the location in the West Edmonton Mall was really good because the hotel was right there, but also the food court was very close by. So people could get whatever was appealing to them from a meal perspective, which is kind of nice these days, I think, with everybody's different tastes and requirements. There's also a couple of good restaurants in the mall there, so we didn't have to venture very far for food. And it was just really well organized. We got wonderful gifts. And so they'll be hosting again at the end of June in 2024, and registrations are going to open up in September. So the link to join the Facebook group is below, and I think it's going to sell out super quick, but we will be going back to be the shop for the boutique. So super excited about that already.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And then I went camping too. It's been a very long time since I've gone camping. So
how'd that go?
It was actually really good. We had really nice weather and lots of mosquitoes, but that was the worst of it. So yeah. New adventure, old adventure.
Exactly.
Oh. Alrighty, well, let's jump in and start talking about our Lucy Barber sampler. This is Lucy, and she is our Traditional Stitches Hands Across the Sea exclusive sampler for this year. And so we're the only place that you can find it. You can't even order it from Nicola's website. And we still have plenty of charts and supplies in stock at this time. It is limited edition, and so they will sell out eventually. So we hope that people will join us. But it looks like we're starting month number 6 of the stitch along. Right. Does that mean that we're halfway through?
Yes.
Wow, how'd that happen?
I don't know. It just, crazy. Okay, so I'll just show you the very rumpled legend. So we have completed month 5. We're on month 6, right in there. Okay, so not too much work. I haven't pulled this out yet this month. So I've got some magnet issues here. Let me just take that off. Okay. So that's where I left it in June. And I guess the next week I will tackle it.
Good.
Right now I've got something else in my scroll rods, and it may or may not get bumped for Lucy. I don't know. So.
Well, like you said, it's not a very stitch intensive section, but no. I love these orange trees. Yeah. I just thought when Nicola first showed me this sampler, this apricot color that is throughout the sampler just really appealed to me. So it's beautiful. And of course, my model is hanging on the wall in the shop, so I'm not carrying it back and forth. But I also really enjoyed stitching this motif, which has like the rose hips in it. Yeah. That was highlight for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to do. Mm-hmm. So a basket and an orange tree and a rose bush, kind of, and a little bit of the border. So should be very doable.
Yep, and fun. And we're seeing more and more finishes in the Facebook group every day. Have you noticed that is kind of trying to creep up there? So that's exciting to see.
No, it's a little tempting to want to be part of that. So I've resisted.
Well, speaking of resistance, and particularly resistance being futile, our next subject is the Hannah Campbell Sampler stitch. And if you'll remember from our conversation in our last video, I was steadfastly resisting starting the Hannah Campbell Sampler.
Yes, you were. Oh. Yeah.
I failed.
Yeah, you did. No, I expected you to start it and go great guns.
Yeah.
So you did not disappoint.
Yep. And I am enjoying it every bit as much as I was worried I was going to. But I mentioned in the last video that I wasn't getting very much stitching done because I felt I didn't have a project in my stand that I could just sit down and get to work on. Yeah. And I was right. Now that this is in my stand, I'm getting way more stitching done, just sitting down and taking the opportunity. So
I find I'm like that when I finish something. It's not hard to put something in the stand or pick up, or whip, but sometimes just that initial switching from one to the other, it's a lot of work. I don't know. It's all psychological though. Mm-hmm. So once you get started, you're fine.
Right. So the Hannah Campbell Stitch Along on Facebook, they started into month number 2 on the 1st of July, and they're working across. So here's the sampler, and the section that goes across, there's month 1, and then the middle is month 2, and then this section is month 3. So I personally am just chugging along the border because I got hung up on the over 1. And so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But there is still plenty of time to join us. This is going to be a 15-month stitch along. I know it looks like a pretty dense, intense sampler, but 15 months is going to actually be quite doable. And so people are welcome to join us and order from the sponsoring shops of the Stitch Along, which is our shop, Traditional Stitches, or the Attic Needleworks, or Needle in a Haystack in California, or Acorns and Threads in Portland, or Stitch in Time in Australia. And so that'd be great. All right, so before we got on the video, we had a little bit of a discussion about strategy for the over 1 section. So you and I are both stitching using the SWA 100 over 3 on the 46 count, like Lakeside vintage side. And so I, instead of working in my sampler, I did what I always recommend, and I did some doodling in the border of my sampler. You can kind of just see it up in the corner there. I rolled it down and to see what I thought about doing cross stitch over 1 on the 46 count linen, using the SWA 100 over 3 and doing full crosses. And I don't like it. So you did some experimenting too on your Hannah Campbell, right? Yeah,
I did. And I'll show you. And I did this last evening because I had to start it. It was, I was avoiding it. So I started it. So I did the bird first over 1, and it's 10th stitch. And the stitch is the direction of your top cross. Okay, so does that make sense? Did I say that right? So when you're doing the direction of your 10th stitch, in order to make it look fuller, I believe, you follow the line of the top of your cross stitch. I know Nicola has it in Hannah Campbell. She mentioned it. So
all of your 10 stitches are going in the same direction. It's more that you're talking about the path of your thread on the back?
Not the thread, not the path of the thread, but I instead, you know how when you have a cross stitch, you have your bottom goes this way and the top goes this way? All of my 10 stitches will go the direction of the top of your cross stitch.
Oh, I see what you mean. Gotcha.
Sorry, I didn't explain it that well. No, I should have pulled out Nicola's. She has it on Hannah Campbell. She explained it very well. I did not murder that. Sorry.
Okay. So everybody go to the Facebook group and watch Nicola's video, but I understand what you mean. So that your 10th stitch is going, the 10th stitch is going the same direction as the top leg of your cross stitch goes in the rest of your stitching.
There you go. I should have just let you say it. So I completed that, and for the most part, I like it. Then I went to the first large letter, the letter A, and I did that all in 10th stitch. Now, I don't know if you can see the detail of it. I mean, it looks okay, but I'm not 100% happy. It looks sparse.
Right.
So
and I've kind of always felt that way about 10th stitch for alphabet letters. I mean, what we saw of what you just showed looks fine. And I'm sure that once the sampler is framed and on the wall, it's going to look just fine. But you have to know that you like it as your, your stitching tastes and preferences. So
Yeah, we've discussed a few things what we can do. One is, yeah, leave it and learn to like it. B, do the full crosses just on the alphabet. Or C, use Swasserfine, which is probably half the width of SWA 103, and do full crosses. So,
okay, and you decided that to tackle the over one sections, you're going to do a combination where you're using tent stitch in the motifs such as the bird, but you're going to go to the Swasserfine probably for the lettering. Which is just that one color, the 773 in 100/3, which is 2773 in Swasserfine.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I agree with that. But if people want to do all of the over one in Swasserfine, Kathy Ray from Needle in a Haystack has put a list on the Facebook group of the Swasserfine colors. We've got them on order. They'll be here pretty soon. And then I believe there are 8 colors that are used for cross stitch over one that you can use Swasserfine for instead of the 100/3 if you're working on the higher count fabrics and that's your preference. So if you need those threads, just let us know and we can certainly set you up with that.
Right. And the way to find that list, you had put in the search, you had put the word Surfine, SURFINE, and the list came up.
Yeah. On the Facebook group. That's
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that that's the route that I'm going to go, where I do replace all of the colors of 100/3 with Swasserfine and do full cross stitch, I think, at this time. So when they come into the shop and when I can get my hands on a set, then I'll play with that again. And then we'll talk about it in our next video, what we ended up deciding.
Sounds good. Yeah, that gives me a month to make a final decision. I have to admit, doing tent stitch was a little bit counting. You have to get your head around it, especially doing it the opposite direction. But it goes so quickly. Before you know it, you have a letter done. So I'm like, do I want to do all of this? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's half as much stitching, right? Because you're only doing one leg. Yeah. And I love the effect of tent stitch. So if you're inclined to do that, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
cool.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. So I mentioned that we were having some out-of-town visitors in the shop. So last weekend, Janine from Blue Flower and her friend Rena came out to the shop with Jeanette Douglas, who is local to us, of course, and we had a blast. I'm going to insert a couple pictures here. You might have already seen them in social media, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had some shenanigans and we just ripped apart the stacks of the hand-dyed linen and looked at everything and put together palettes. And anyways, we had a lot of fun, so. So it's been a lot of fun having visitors from all over the world come into the shop. Summer is usually really good for that for us. We are a little bit shorthanded in the shop right now, though, because, well, summer holidays, people take advantage of going away with their kids and going to see family and stuff. So if we're a little bit slower in replying to emails, that's just because we're a little bit shorthanded, but things will get back to normal here in not too very long. So that'd be good. We are getting some product shipments coming in, and hopefully that means that our suppliers are catching up a little bit because it's a little bit quieter of a time in the summer for them too. So that includes hand-dyed linen. So in the last week or so, we've received hand-dyed linen shipments from Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie, Seraphim, and Fox and Rabbit huge order from Fox and Rabbit. So I brought some of those to show everybody today. And so this is hand-dyed linens that are currently in stock, that we have at least a yard of, that we try to mention here in the video for people who are looking for a little bit of more instant fulfillment of their order, because hand-dyed linens are just always going to be a challenge, I think, these days. So this is what it is. So I chose 36, 40, and 46 count linens to show today. We do also have some 28 and 32, but I thought I'd just highlight these guys. And looking at this stack beside me, it's lots of great neutral samplery kinds of fabrics. So ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one that I have here are Stephanie, hand dyed by Stephanie, and this is 36 count chocolate milk. Yeah, nice color, good modeling. This is used in the current series from Cottage Garden Samplings, the Snowman collector one. So just beautiful, great, neutral hand-dyed linen.
Nice.
And then this is, oh, we also have that color in 40 count. So I'll just show you the two at the same time. Very similar.
Very.
But beautiful. And then we also have in 36 count, this is toasted almond. So it's a lighter neutral hand-dyed linen, but you can still see that there's some model in there. And toasted.
Yeah, I don't think the camera picks up the modeling well enough. I've seen that one before, and it is really nice.
This is Stephanie's colonial parchment. In 36 count as well.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice. And then Fox and Rabbit. So Fox and Rabbit does really great hand-dyed linens on his Weigart base, and some of them have more subtle modeling, but there are a few colors that they do that have a more distinct modeling. And this first one that I'm going to show you is more distinct modeling. This is called 36 count Dirt Track. But you can just see how much fun that would be to stitch a sampler or a scenery or anything on it.
Right.
36 Dirt Track. This one is Ocean Air.
Haven't seen that one before.
Yeah. So when Jeanette Douglas was in the shop the other day, we were looking through these, and she said that it would be a great substitute for some of the fabrics that she's done years ago, or designs that she's done years ago, like the By the Sea series. Yes. That she used a hand-dyed linen that's really not that available anymore, but that this would be a nice blue alternative. So it is Fox and Rabbit's Ocean Air, and we've got that in a variety of counts. And this is 40 count Up in the Attic, also from Fox and Rabbit. So it's taupey, but with a really nice model in there. Some Seraphim. I really love this fabric. This is called Time Goes By. It's in 40 count. And Brenda Gervais used this in a couple of designs, and it's quite a nice yellow green, excellent for Halloween kinds of designs. And so that's 40 count. Okay,
that's reading quite well then.
Okay, good. More Seraphim. I love Seraphim linen. Sometimes on hand-dyed linens, even though they use the same base, the body just doesn't feel the same, but Seraphim's body always feels great. So this is Prairie Grass.
That's nice.
Yeah. So a great darker samplery neutral. And then similarly, this is 40 count Old Stationery. And it is also just a gorgeous color.
It is.
And again, I'm sitting here thinking, maybe this doesn't have to go back to the shop. Maybe it's going to stay for my personal stash. And this is 40 count Seraphim antique lace.
That's nice too.
And then the same fabric in 36 count. So this is the 36 count and the 40 count.
Very similar.
Yeah, cool, hey? Oh, it's so beautiful. This is 36 count Seraphim Dusty Road. It's really nice too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice to have some selection and some choices to do substituting for some fabrics that maybe we can't get right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's some really big stacks of hand-dyed linen in the shop that we're maybe having a hard time finding homes for in the bookcases because there's so much, but it's really nice to have some choices. And then we've seen these guys in 40 count, but here they are in 36 count. This is old stationery. And then this is prairie grass. So they're kind of about the same value, but the prairie grass is browner and the old stationery is a little bit, reading a little bit more green, but they're still such great sampler colors. And then this one is really nice too. This is called Tobias. And it's a little bit more golden. And this is 36 count. So just really nice. So we have a link in the description box below that takes you to a section on our website that specifically lists the fabrics that I've just shown here. And we'll endeavor to keep that up to date as they go, but those are on hand as of publishing of the video.
Very good.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I just wanted to show off was we had brought in, and I showed these off in the last video, the handmade stitching bags and totes from Corey in the States, and they were hotcakes at the retreat. But we do still have some left, which is awesome. So if you're local, come to the shop and see them because you just won't believe them in person. But I just did want to mention them again in the video. So this is the stitching mat for your spot at a workshop. I actually keep this on my couch on the cushion next to me where I stitch, just to keep things organized and laid out.
I'm laughing because I keep a cat next to me on the couch.
How does that help with your organization, Rose?
Well, not really, except it's a good alternative to him being on my lap.
Oh, I've never quite figured out how people do that.
Sometimes it works if I have my scroll frame, my whole stand up high enough, but more often than not, he gets booted next to me. So
it's a good thing that he takes that for an answer instead of, that's good. Good. And then there's just this other bag that I've got here from Corey just to show off the quality, and each one of them has their own unique zipper pull and nice and stiff. Like you wouldn't fold this in half to put inside another bag. It's nice and reinforced. So just love them. They're awesome. All right. So that kind of takes care of that section of our chat. What else have you been working on, Rose?
Well, I can, do you want to see it finish?
Okay.
Okay. Before I show you, a little disclaimer, I have put it in a frame that I'm going to use, but the frame has to be painted. So don't look at it and go, ooh, because I have to paint it. Okay. So you can see it's pretty pink, and it's not going to be after this weekend. It'll be espresso brown or something. Okay. So this is the Red R sampler from Liz Matthews. So, and you probably can figure out why I stitched it. Yeah. And this will go on my R wall. I have a wall that has a few pieces that, you know, the rose and the giant pear for one.
Mm.
So I left it in here because I want to bring up something with you, and I think I know the answer. So do you see on either side, there are 2 rows, red and blue. I believe they mimic the woven edge of antique linen, correct?
Like a tea towel.
Yes, and that is what the girls would have stitched on sometimes, where that woven edge ran all the way the length of their piece of fabric. So I'm framing this myself, and you can see it ended here and here, and same with on the other side. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the woven edge so that it goes into the frame.
Yeah.
So that it mimics a woven edge.
Even more. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree. I do that too.
Yeah. I was trying to do a bit of research on it, and I see Liz, of course, she had the frame that she measured herself. And so it did look like it ran into it. And there was another design by Teresa Vanette in a magazine that she did a few years ago. And she did suggest that the woven edge that you stitched goes into the frame. So that's what I'm going to do.
Clever. I like it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. Just trying to think. I do have one other finish. It's really hard to show, but it just shows that I do different things. I don't just do large reproduction samplers. I like smalls too. So a few years ago, I did what is called Elizabeth. I'm just trying to find a picture. Actually, here it is. I'll show you the chart. So there is Elizabeth. And I did her a few years ago. And I decided, actually, it came in a Sampler and Antique Quarterly magazine also. There is the box. Yes. So I also have the chart from Julia. So I did finish, and I have to put it together. And this is where I'm feeling the intimidation factor. So one of the things that she calls for is something called Skirtex. And I'm not familiar with it. And I think it's a lightweight cardboard or a heavyweight interfacing. So, so these are the pieces in no particular order. And if they look similar, that's because they are. So that's going to be actually the top, the, what do they call that? A humpback trunk? I should know that. And I changed things a bit, and I'm putting my initials and the date on the bottom. So I have to have it finished this year.
Yes, you're committed now. You want to put that date on there.
I put the date on already. So I have everything. I have the silk fabric. I have the wool felt. And so now and the silk ribbon. So now it's just a matter of going through the instructions and familiarizing myself with it, understanding, doing a bit of research on the tools that she may have used that I'm not familiar with. So yeah, that's the other finish, which was really easy to stitch, but I just drug my bottom. So.
Well, you'll have to report back on that particular project.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Good.
And I'm just kind of looking. I did start one of the red samplers from the Letters from Europe box. I started that. I've got all of a bunch of project bags beside me, so I'm just trying to look to see what is what here. Oh, that's Hannah.
We're hoping for progress on Miss Marianne Bourne's.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. She's to my right. I don't know where you guys saw last, and I'm anxious to get back to it, but there's a lot going on with being away for a week with my sister's getaway. Next month, I'm going away on holidays for a week. So she may not come out until September. So,
I think you had just hit the bottom of the bee skep when we saw it last month.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is the bee skep. I'm doing that, the grass underneath, I guess. The stand is already there. So if I roll it up, there. So
it's a super stitching intensive section.
The bee skep was, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, nothing more. I think I'm the type of person that if there's a lot going on, it really keeps my interest. Sometimes a border, if it's a repetitious border, I get bored and then I make mistakes.
Gotcha.
So throw me something that's a little more difficult and it keeps my interest. So that's Miss Marianne Boren's.
Cool.
And just this little piece. Oh, maybe I don't have it. I think I'll skip that because I'm not sure where I put it. It's somewhere.
Okay.
So we'll leave that one.
Cool.
So that's about it. And how about you?
There's sometimes things come into the shop that I just can't resist starting, even though, you know, just like everybody else in the world, I don't really need another start, but this came in. It is from Teresa at Shakespeare's Peddler, and it's called Painted Flowers, and that's what it looks like. So it's exactly right up my style alley, and I started it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So and that's Black Swan, correct?
Black Swan, 40 count Black Swan with 1 skein of cotton, and it's 95% DMC with weeks and a gentle art thrown in there.
Okay.
So lots of really subtle shading. Actually, I can see the shading more in the video than I could see it when it was in my hoops. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, but working on 40 count almost black linen needs really specific conditions. So it's not very much of a traveling project.
Okay.
But I'm really enjoying it, and it's turning out lovely, and I'm just working it in my trusty hardwood Manor hoop, which seems to be exactly the right size for it. And
so I have a question for you regarding black linen or really dark linen. Tell us your tricks that help you.
Well, normally for a project like this, I would just stitch it in hand. I wouldn't use a hoop, but I find that using the hoop and actually keeping it a little bit taut pulls out the weave a little bit to make it easier. But I'm definitely using my good light and my good magnifier and setting it aside for time when I know I can focus on it.
Okay.
That's mostly what I'm doing.
Do you put a sheet or something white on your lap to help reflect back?
I don't, and I think that the reason, like I've definitely heard of that and suggested that to people, but I have an old neck injury. So I try to keep my posture more upright. So I'm holding my stitching kind of in my line of vision here. So I'm not down looking at something that might be sitting on my lap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. But if people were working at a table, I work at my couch, but then you could certainly set it up so that there was something white in your background to help contrast the holes in the fabric.
Right.
Some other people will set up a light that shines up to them through the fabric to help with that. So those are ideas as well.
And I mean, the other is don't stitch on dark linen in the evening. Do it in the daytime when you have much better light. Daylight gives you much better. So
on that note, Teresa has also put in a digitized image of the same design on a lighter color fabric, and it is beautiful as well. So if that was a little bit more suited to your tastes or your stitching interest, then I would say do that. We don't have that option on our website, but you could just email us and just say that you'd rather that we subbed out a lighter color linen.
Okay.
for it. So so on 40 count, it's going to be 11 3/4 wide by 4 inches tall. And her inspiration was a deed box. So where a box that had documents rolled on parchment inside and just a decorated top. So yeah, so she says she made a few adjustments, but loved the bright flowers against the chalky black background.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can see that. It's really striking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fun. So, and then here's just the picture of the whole thing again, and I'll link to it on our website below as well. But I'm really, so that's the flower that I started on, and I'm dying to get to this one with the rusty colors and get stitching on that.
Yes, yes.
All right, so what have you got planned for the coming month?
Oh, well, getting ready to go camping with the family. So we're heading 1,600 kilometers away to Manitoba for a week. So 4 families are going to convoy east. So I have some prep to do, and I started already. I think I'm crazy, but I'm going to be making 12 dozen cookies today.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're called monster cookies, and my kids grew up on them, and so I'm going to be making them. So I have to start doing the baking and some cooking. I'm being that we're traveling so far away, I can't do a lot, but I can bring snackies.
Mm-hmm.
And we might do a little bit of camping, just local in between, because that's 3 weeks still before we leave.
Mm.
Some stitching, some knitting. If I don't feel like stitching, I'm knitting, but that's usually doesn't happen too often. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. How about you?
Next week, I'm flying to Portland for our shop owners retreat weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I am so excited about it. So we just go down and spend a weekend hanging out and stitching and eating and visiting and talking about things that there's not very many people in the world that we can talk to, that we have that in common.
Okay. So there's no real agenda. It's more just kind of getting together and hashing things out. And
yeah, just a retreat of friends that happen to all do the same business. So
yes,
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, can't wait. Really looking forward to that.
Good.
And then I think we've got a weekend at a lake with some friends, and that's kind of about it. So, and that weekend kind of overlaps a little bit our next video date. So you and I'll have to put our heads together and see, but it might be a little bit late. So a day or two.
Yeah. We'll discuss that.
Yeah. Sounds good. And then otherwise, staff holidays being longer days and more days in the shop for me. But I had my Italian getaway in the spring, and then I'm going to Nicola's Great British Sampler weekend in the fall. So it just works out perfectly, actually. So
right. Yeah. You are bookending everybody's holidays.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, enjoy the next few weeks, and we'll get together and chat again roughly the middle of August.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, Rose. Talk to you soon.
You bet.
Bye.